She's not a pilot, not a robot, but the living memory of an ancient warrior, and now he's the one she's chosen to live again through. We follow a disgraced starship mechanic who stumbles across a living relic from an ancient war and alien vessel with a mind of its own. When the ship awakens at his touch, he's pulled into a cosmic tangle of Empire's warlords and a mysterious guardian who may or may not be using him. Oh, and the ship it bonds for life. With your brain. You won't be able to stop being curious about how a junk dealer turned into the most wanted pilot in the galaxy. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Jax Corvin didn't wake up that morning expecting to touch a heartbeat, especially not one sealed inside what looked like a fossilized ship hull in the back alley of a floating scrapyard bazaar. He squinted through smoke, the scent of singed plasma coils and roasted fungus heavy in the air. His boots thudded against loose deck plating, every clang echoing through the cavernous underbelly of the market. Grease stained his overalls, an old Federation patch stitched over one arm, half pride, half joke. Blacklisted meant nobody legally would hire him. The badge was just ironic now. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was looking for a Type 4 oscillator and maybe a heat exchanger if the trader was desperate. What he found instead was humming, a subtle vibration in the air, like bass you didn't hear but felt in your ribs. "Hey, what's that thing?" he asked the vendor, a four-eyed thoraxi with cracked goggles and a voice like grinding rust. Off limits, the trader snapped, blocking his path. "Dead tech. No power, no entry, no questions." Jax gave a lopsided grin. "Dead things don't hum." The vendor hissed, muttering in his native clicks and scrapes, but made no move to stop him. Jax ducked under loose tarps, stepping into the dark corner where the ship sat. It was wrong. Beautiful, but wrong. No seams, no rivets. The hull looked grown, not built, dark as wet stone, laced with faint blue veins that pulsed slow like breath. One of those veins twitched as he neared. He paused. Then, because curiosity was a terrible therapist, he reached out and placed his hand on the shell. It was warm. The pulse quickened beneath his palm. A shiver rippled through the hull. Blue veins flared light, seeping across the surface like veins on fire. The ship groaned a low ancient sound, and a panel unsealed with a hiss parting like flesh. Whoa. The air shifted. From behind the vendor was long gone. Smart guy. Jax took a breath. "Yeah, I'm definitely not walking away from this." Inside stairs formed, not steps more, like flowing ridges rising to meet him, as if the ship was reading his intent. His boots met the surface soft and firm at once, like muscle under skin. The scent was metallic, but not unpleasant. Something biological. A gentle tone rang out, 3 notes low to high. Then a voice, genderless, ageless, inside his skull. "Welcome, candidate." Jax froze. "Excuse me." The voice didn't answer. Instead, a line of light traced along the corridor, guiding him deeper. It was like walking into the belly of some ancient beast, but one that was clean and waiting. No bones, though. That was a plus. The corridor opened into a chamber that could only be the bridge or something close. A single central platform rose from the floor, ringed by floating glyphs and symbols in a script he couldn't read. One word pulsed brighter than the others. Void Dancer. It lingered in his head like a whisper. Void Dancer, he repeated, and the ship responded, lights brightening, the hum beneath his feet growing stronger. One glyph reached out, literally extended in tendrils of light to touch his temple. And suddenly he wasn't standing anymore. He was falling, not down, inward. Flashes of war, a star collapsing in reverse, a woman's voice shouting in a language he didn't know. Screams. Silence. A planet cracking open like glass under heat. Jax jolted back with a gasp. Sweat on his neck, heartbeat in his throat. He staggered, caught himself against the platform. What the hell was that? The ship didn't answer, but it had opened, accepted him. No security codes, no payment, no crew, no permission. Just chosen. He looked around again. If this was a trap, it was a hell of an elaborate one. But his instincts, the ones that had kept him alive through 10 years of back alley jobs, faulty drives, and one unfortunate run-in with a depressed bounty hunter, told him this wasn't death. This was an opportunity. Okay, Void Dancer. Let's see what you are. He reached for the nearest glowing console. It shifted to meet his hand. And far above them in the orbital relay grid, an old Federation sensor pinged to life, broadcasting a silent signal across a dozen hidden channels. The control panel didn't have buttons. It breathed. Under Jax's fingers, the surface gave like skin flexed like a tendon. Each glyph he touched pulsed and reformed, like it was learning his language or teaching him a new one. The cockpit brightened slightly, illuminating the pilot's chair, if you could call it that. It looked more like a throne grown from the floor, its curves organic, too symmetrical to be comfortable, and too imposing not to sit in. Jax approached slowly, hands out like he was trying to calm a wild animal. You gonna bite me if I sit down? No answer, but the chair did shift. Its shape molded to fit his body before he even made contact, spine-length neural threads, uncurling like ivy. He sat. The chair accepted him with a low hum, then the tendrils reached up, brushing the back of his neck. He winced. Hey, whoa, easy. Buy me dinner first. The neural threads didn't care for humor. One of them touched the scar behind his right ear, the old Federation port. He'd had it deactivated after the blacklisting, thinking it'd protect him. Useless now. The tendril pulsed. He felt a click inside his skull, then a door opened. Not on the ship. In him. Memories not his own. Languages he never studied. Star charts etched into mental space. The name again, Void Dancer. Guardian class relic. Guardian of what then something else. A woman's voice clearer, this time shaped by thought more than sound. Jax Corvin, unregistered. Ex-Federation mechanic. Scar tissue, emotional and cortical. Neural sync, incomplete but viable. Candidate confirmed. He sat up. Confirmed for what a glyph flared ahead. A spherical projection unfolded above the console, a 3D map of the galaxy, half of it red. A pulse radiated from their position, sending echoes through enemy-controlled zones. The ship was calling out, announcing its return. Not ideal. Another glyph blinked and the ship's systems shifted. The entry ramp was retracted. Hull plates sealed. Lighting adjusted. The Void Dancer was claiming him. No auction, no transfer of ownership. Just a moment, his hand on its hull, and now it had a pilot. A familiar warmth filled the cabin like being wrapped in the hum of a power core. But there was something else in it. Expectation. Then came the movement. Without warning, the ship rotated, soft vibrations rippling through the deck. From outside, warning, klaxons echoed across the scrapyard. Jack scrambled to the console. What are you doing? I haven't even read the flight path acquired. Launch sequence initiated. Engines spun up, not like thrusters, more like bioreactive systems, responding to need not command. The hum deepened. Outside, cargo crates rattled, and loose debris scattered as the Void Dancer lifted from the ground. Jax's hands flew over the controls, which weren't really controls at all. They were responding to thought, to emotion. He imagined slowing, and the ship hesitated. He panicked, and the forward thrusters fired. Okay, mental notes, calm is good. Panic is bad. From above, a voice crackled over comms, old Earth tech somehow compatible. Unregistered vessel, this is Station Karan Bazaar Control. You are launching without authorization. You have 30 seconds to comply. Jack swore. Okay. Where's the communications? Right there. He reached out and slammed a finger into a glowing glyph. Hi, sorry. Bit of a misunderstanding. This ship, activated on its own. I think it thinks I'm the pilot now, static. Then stand down or we will fire. He grimaced. Of course you will. On-screen 3 defense drones detached from their towers, zeroing in. Their targeting lasers painted red lines across the Void Dancer's hull. Jax held up his hands instinctively. The ship didn't wait. It surged. The first drone never got off a shot. A tendril-like weapon unfurled from the side of the Void Dancer, firing a gravity pulse that bent the air and folded the drone into itself. Okay, that's new. The other drones opened fire. The Void Dancer moved like water poured through cracks, effortless, organic, anticipating every shot. Jax wasn't flying. He was thinking. And the ship moved with him. Down in the bazaar, traders screamed and scrambled as fire rained around them. Above, the station's main guns powered up. Jax leaned forward. Time to go. He visualized it. Open space. The stars. No more alleyways. The ship responded. A rip of light tore in front of them hyperspace. Not the standard jump. This was faster. Cruder. The stars bent inward, then snapped. The void dancer vanished. Silence returned to the scrapyard. Inside the ship, Jax slumped in the chair. Right. So, what now? A soft hum answered him. The voice returned not from a speaker, but from every inch of the hull. She didn't appear with a flash or dramatic fanfare. One moment Jax was alone on the bridge of the Void Dancer. The next she stood before him, tall, poised, and entirely too composed for someone who had apparently just materialized out of thin air. Kira Valan. Her skin shimmered in hues of storm cloud blue, shot through with faint silver veins. Not makeup biology. Her eyes, golden and slit like a predator's, scanned him in complete silence. She wore a bodysuit of living armor that pulsed in rhythm with the ship itself, as though grown from the same root. Jax sat there stunned. Hey, she tilted her head. You are the one the dancer chose. He blinked. I guess I touched it. It opened. Now we're flying away from a scrapyard like a couple of fugitives. She didn't smile, but something in her posture shifted, as if she were filing him under mildly incompetent, possibly useful. I am Kira Valan, guardian avatar of this vessel. You may refer to me as Guardian or Kira. I do not respond to ma'am. He raised an eyebrow. Got it. So, are you like an AI? Not precisely. She walked a slow arc around him. I am a construct, biological, cognitive, and mnemonic, a synthesis of the Zethi Warden class, memories, mission parameters, and combat algorithms. I am also what remains of Kira Valan, commander of the Zethi Vanguard. Jax blinked. Wait, that's like a real person? Was. Silence. The ship continued its drift through open space stars, reflecting off the bridge walls like ripples on black water. So you're a ghost, she paused, considering. I have a purpose. I am legacy. I am bound to the Void Dancer until a new chosen completes the bond. Jax chuckled nervously. And that's me. Her golden gaze fixed on him. It seems so. The words weren't comforting. Kira moved toward the main console. As she passed, the glyphs adjusted symbols, realigning like petals turning toward the sun. She extended one hand and the ship's systems responded with organic precision. In seconds, a new projection lit up dozens of red markers blinking toward their location. You've triggered a dormant beacon, she said. This vessel has not stirred in centuries. Its reawakening sends ripples through deep space surveillance arrays. Jax grimaced. So, someone's coming. Several someones. She tapped a glyph. The screen zoomed. He saw ships scattered but converging. That's a lot of triangles. They are not triangles. They are warlords. Of course they were. Kira's voice softened by a fraction. You should not have touched this ship. He gave her a half smile. Yeah, I get that a lot. She frowned, then stepped closer. Listen carefully, Jax Corvin. The Void Dancer is more than transport. It is a remnant of war. It was built to carry guardians like me and only accepts a pilot through direct neural compatibility. Most are rejected. He swallowed. And if they're rejected, they die. He felt his pulse spike. That's a fun surprise, she circled again. You are still alive. That suggests partial compatibility, but the bond is incomplete. If left unfinished, the ship will erase you. Wait, hold on. Erase neural degradation. Progressive. Painless in theory. Jax ran a hand through his hair. Why is nothing ever painless in practice? Kira stopped beside him. The bond must be completed. Soon. He stood. You said you're not just AI. What happens if I finish this? Bonding. She looked at him not unkindly, but like someone sizing up a chess piece. You become the pilot and the warden. What's a warden? She didn't answer. Instead, the ship suddenly jolted. They both turned. The projection lit up two new blips entering real space. Not warlords. sleek, needle-like ships with energy signatures that screamed ancient and mad. Kira's jaw tightened. Zarethi and Hatal, old species, both want the dancer. Jax rubbed his temples. Why? Because this ship doesn't just fly, it remembers. That didn't help. Kira stepped to the console and pressed a new sequence. The lights dimmed. The hull shimmered. Outside, the Void Dancer shifted hue, blending into background radiation, disappearing from visual scans. Stealth mode, she said. Jax leaned back against the wall, head spinning. So let me get this straight. I touched a ship. It liked me. Now I'm its maybe pilot. I've got 3 different ancient factions trying to kill me, and I'm linked to the mind ghost of a battle priestess who might let me die if I don't. Soul meld. Kira lifted an eyebrow. That is not inaccurate. He let out a laugh. Sure. Why not? Sounds like my luck. She finally allowed herself a small smile. And somewhere in the distance, across parsecs of dead space and silent stars, a new message echoed from the Void Dancer's activation, a call the galaxy hadn't heard in millennia. The Void Dancer was fast. Not just quick in a mechanical sense, but fluid alive, reactive like muscle memory on a ship-wide scale. It curved around meteor fragments before Jax even noticed them, dipped through gravitational eddies like a dolphin through waves. And all the while, the hull pulsed faintly beneath his feet, as if syncing to the rhythm of his heartbeat. Still, it wasn't enough. They're gaining. Kira said, her tone too calm for someone being hunted by galactic nightmares. Jax stared at the rear sensor feed. The 2 pursuit ships had halved the distance in less than 10 minutes. The Zarethi vessel, long, thin, iridescent, moved in complete silence, as if it wasn't there at all. The Hatal craft, on the other hand, was brutish, all spikes and engine roar like a sledgehammer welded to an afterburner. He swallowed. Do they know what this ship can do? Enough to fear it, Kira replied, and enough to kill for it. Great. That's so comforting. She was already inputting commands, or more accurately, guiding the ship with intent. Jax was slowly realizing how the interface worked. You didn't press buttons. You meant things. The ship responded to thought, not instruction. Kira's eyes glowed faintly as she focused. They won't stop. The Zithi built the Void Dancer to carry secrets we were too afraid to destroy. The Zarethi want it sealed. The Hatal wanted it weaponized. Either way, they'll kill us. She nodded. Jax scratched his jaw. So how do we outrun faster ships? Kira's gaze flicked toward him. We don't outrun them. We outthink them. Good, because I'm really good at panicked improvisation. Without waiting, he grabbed the pilot's controls, not because he had to, but because it gave him a sense of purpose. He imagined a tight dive low through the edge of a planetary gravity well nearby. The Void Dancer reacted. Stars spun as the ship twisted down, using the planetary pull like a slingshot. Warning glyphs blinked. Atmospheric stress. Hull strain. Irrelevant. The ship flowed through it like blood through a vein. The Zarethi ship hesitated. Gotcha, Jax muttered. They don't like unpredictable vectors. The Hatal, however, plowed straight through, heat shields blazing. That thing had no fear. Kira frowned. They're adapting. Jax risked a glance at her. Any ancient relic weapons we can activate. Magic cannon, death vines. I'll settle for a good old-fashioned nuke. There is a failsafe, she said slowly, but it requires full sync. He didn't like the way she said that. What happens if we try it now? Kira didn't answer. A sudden jolt rocked the Void Dancer. Jax tumbled sideways, catching himself on the edge of the console. They're firing, he shouted. No visible beam, no plasma bolt, just a ripple of distortion, gravitational compression fields. Weapons meant not to damage the ship, but to crush it like an egg. Shields, he asked, already knowing the answer. Kira's lips pressed thin. This ship doesn't have a shield. It bends. Of course it did. The Void Dancer twitched hard, left folding around the incoming wave, just enough to avoid total collapse. The deck flexed under Jax's boots. Somewhere beneath them, the ship groaned, not in pain but in strain. They wouldn't last long like this. Kira turned toward him. There is another way. Let me guess, it involves almost dying. She almost smiled. Do you trust me? He hesitated. It was the first time she'd asked. Jax exhaled. No. A pause. But I trust the ship. And it picked you. Kira nodded once. She extended her hand toward a new glyph, one that hadn't been there before. It pulsed with slow, golden light. Touch it. Jax hesitated. You sure it won't melt my brain? No, she said honestly. He appreciated the honesty, hated the answer. Still, he touched it. Instantly, his vision blurred. The world smeared. He felt his mind pulled not away, but inward, downward, deep into the ship's core. Time slowed. Reality shimmered. The dreamscape, a memory space constructed from Kira's neural template, shaped by the Void Dancer's living mind. He was falling and floating, drifting through fragments of a war-torn past, cities on fire, Zithi war fleets tearing through space, a great betrayal, Kira standing alone as the High Vanguard turned against her, a final battle, a lover's death. The pain was real, and through it all, her loneliness, that sharp, silent ache she'd buried under years of loyalty and purpose. Jax saw it, felt it. Then she saw his, Earth once, a workshop full of parts and grease, a Federation officer sneering as he was blacklisted, his friends leaving, his name erased from every registry that mattered, nights drinking engine coolant to feel something other than despair. They weren't so different. When he opened his eyes, they were still in the cockpit, but something had changed. Kira was closer. Her golden eyes had softened. You saw, he nodded. Yeah. You too. Yes. For a moment, silence. Then the ship shuddered. A final warning. Kira turned, her voice clear. You are almost compatible. If you complete the bond, you will become the Warden. What does that even mean? She looked at him like the answer scared her. You become the weapon. Jax didn't like the word weapon. He was a mechanic. His hands were made for fixing things, not breaking them. But as the Void Dancer trembled beneath another gravitational blast and the Hital ship drew closer, he realized the galaxy didn't really care about his preferences. Define, become the weapon, he muttered, gripping the console. Kira stood beside him, her eyes brighter than before, golden threads of energy dancing across her skin. To pilot this ship fully, you don't just bond with it, you merge. The Warden is not a pilot, he is the heart. He exhaled, fingers twitching. And if the heart fails, the ship dies. Jax blinked. Well, no pressure then. The Void Dancer's interface shifted. A glyph rose from the console like a blooming flower, three-pronged, pulsing gently. Beneath it, the floor split open to reveal a ringed platform surrounded by low-energy fields. Something ancient, something ritualistic. Kira stepped toward it. This is the biological convergence chamber. He blinked. Couldn't have just called it a lounge. She didn't smile. Step inside. Jax eyed the glowing rings. If I get turned into space goo, I'm haunting your stasis pod. You won't. Not reassuring. Still, he stepped onto the platform. Instantly, he felt it heat, then cold, then a pulse that wasn't his. The ship was scanning him, threading into his neurons. Old scars flared like they were fresh, his brain firing in directions he didn't even know existed. He gasped as his body went weightless. Not zero gravity, more like conscious detachment. He floated in a mental void, and in that space, Kira was already waiting. Not her body, her mind. They stood facing each other, threads of memory tethering them like constellations. She spoke without speaking. To complete the bond, you must face the echo. The what, before she could answer, the world cracked. And he was somewhere else. Not quite a memory, not quite a dream. A war-torn battlefield. The sky streaked with plasma trails. The warriors clashed with enemy forces of glassy bone and mirrored eyes. In the center of it all stood Kira, but younger, fiercer. Her blade blazed with fire, and beside her stood a man taller, broader, laughing even as his chest bled. Jax recognized him, the former pilot, the first Warden. Kira's voice echoed. He died for the Void Dancer. His mind broke under the pressure. He couldn't complete the bond. Jax moved through the scene like a ghost. The other Warden turned as if sensing him, and suddenly they were face to face. Back again, Kira, the man asked, his voice hollow. Found another. Jax tried to speak. I'm not her. I know what you are. The Warden's echo sneered. Another patched up mortal. Thinks he can handle the fire. Jax's fists curled. I didn't ask for this ship to choose me. Then why did it? Good question. But Jax didn't have the answer. Not yet. The battlefield twisted. Flames became water. The ghost warden blurred into smoke. Kira's voice returned. You must survive the echo. If you don't, your mind will fracture. Neat. No pressure. The world snapped again, and he was back in the cockpit. Except different. Everything was clearer. He could hear the void dancer breathing. Not literally, but close. Its thoughts curled through the air like incense. It knew him now, trusted him. The ship's interface glowed softer, warmer. Kira stepped forward. You're still alive. Hey, he wheezed, I'm hard to kill, even emotionally. She tilted her head. You're bleeding. He looked down. His nose had started to drip blood. Classic psychic feedback. Just a little brain hemorrhage, he joked. Probably means I'm bonding correctly. Outside, the Hatal ship was almost upon them. The Zerathi ship hung back observing, waiting for failure. They're prepping to board, Kira warned. Jax wiped the blood from his upper lip and slid into the pilot seat. Not today. He gripped the interface no longer with fear but focus. The void dancer responded. Energy surged along the hull. Hidden panels opened. New systems came online. The console whispered their names. Gravity blades, subspace inversion, entropy claws. Jax didn't know how to use them. He remembered how, because she had remembered, and he had seen. The Hatal ship launched boarding spikes, long metallic spears with tethered wires. Jax didn't dodge. He waited, and when the spike got close enough, he activated the gravity field. Time bent. The spike imploded, sucked back into the Hatal ship by its own force. The warship twisted, veering wildly off course. Kira looked at him. You shouldn't have known that. I didn't. But the ship did. Together they turned back toward the Zerathi vessel. Jax's grin was sharp. Want to send them a message? Kira nodded. Let's show them the warden lives again. Jax's heart pounded as he steadied his hands no longer against a console, but into the living essence of the void dancer itself. Energy rippled beneath his palms, spreading through the deck like warmth through winter fur. Next to him, Kira's golden eyes glinted with approval, as real as any spark, but colder, sharper. Who are you now? She asked softly. He swallowed. We're something else. Their bond glowed between them, no starlight, just raw data, visceral symbiosis. The ship accepted him, learned him. He could feel its synthetic synapses, a network alive. If it shivered, he sensed it. If it waited, so would he. Pilot Warden, Kira whispered. The words vibrated in his mind. Not born from ancient tanks or battlefield rituals, but logical, simple, still carrying emotional weight. They weren't joking anymore. Another alert flared. 3 more enemy ships, Zerathi this time flanking from above. Let them confuse gravity. I'll confuse sensors, Jax said. He closed his eyes, letting the void dancer translate intent into reality. The hull pulsed violet. The ship splintered into 6 ghost selves, phasing in and out like wisps. Imperceptible. Silent. The Zerathi fighters unleashed barrages at the phantoms. Each burst vanished into nothing. Kira's breath, or what passed for it, hissed. Impressive. He didn't smile. There was work to do. He refocused. The real ship coalesced, cage-like warp distortions, shimmering where it truly was. Right behind the first Zerathi cruiser, he pressed and the void dancer's energy coils flared. A gravity bolt tore through hull plating, no explosion, just a collapsed metal, buckled inward like a flower closing in death. Inside the crumpled ship, Zerathi crew members screamed in PS. Jax grimaced synthetic voices, but enough to tap his conscience. Brutal, Kyra said, her tone neutral. He shook his head. Necessary. Time blurred. A second cruiser appeared. He flicked his thoughts, dodge, ghost strike, another quick implosion. The third Zerathi rattled, broke formation. It tried to flee. Jax hesitated. End it. Kira's question was clinical. He gazed at their retreating silhouette, then his gaze hardened. Burn. He traced a mental path. The void dancer became pure force gravity beams, lanced deep into the ship's core, turning its reactor into a star forge in reverse. The cruiser tipped backward, silent implosion, magnifying into a massive shockwave that rippled through space, for lack of a better term, beauty. Kira exhaled. You're fast. Thanks. We're fast. A lull followed in which ICS integrated consciousness sensor link hummed between him and Kira. The ship confirmed neural synchronization at 95%. Flight systems at 100%. Weapons locked. They were ready, more than ready. They had become the Warden. The third cruiser vanished entirely consumed from within. Suddenly, the Void Dancer shuddered enormously deep within its core. And unlike anything mechanical, something emotional rippled through it. Kira looked to Jax, uncertainty cutting her features. Something's off. He frowned. Like system failure, like it's crying. He froze, hands still engaged. The ship pulsed blues and violets, then dimmed a heartbeat, slowing. Alarms blared a massive gravitic backlash. A wave built behind them. Reverse pressure field, Kira ordered. Jax complied. They unleashed a counterburst ripping through the eddies. They had surfed near the edge of what one person could face alone, and still they had expanded. In their unity, they sensed a deeper song. The Void Dancer was more than tech. It was living memory. He looked to Kira. We're not alone in this. She nodded, her armor veins dim. The ship brought us together for something bigger. He said softly, let's find out what that is. The stars were boiling. A capital ship dropped out of fold space like a leviathan rising from a black sea. Twice the size of the Void Dancer, its hull shimmered with fractal plating that bent starlight unnaturally. Its prow housed a barrel wider than most outposts, a weapon that didn't fire at space so much as rewrite it. Kira stiffened. That's a temporal destabilizer. Jax raised an eyebrow. I'm guessing that's worse than a regular laser cannon. She didn't answer, which was answer enough. The Void Dancer responded to their tension with increased pulse rhythm. It readied systems they hadn't even seen before: folded antimatter brackets, self-repairing hull nodes, gravity null shields. All lit up like a Christmas tree engineered by a mad physicist. They're charging the main weapon, Kira said, voice tight. Jax ran a hand through his hair. How long do we have? 12 seconds. Maybe. The Dancer fed him a tactical overlay directly into his vision, a path barely visible threading behind the enemy vessel, through a gravity well, and along the edge of a disrupted fold stream. Tell me this ship isn't suggesting a blind jump. It's not blind, Kira murmured. Just impossible. Well, Jax said, gripping the interface. Guess it's a good day to test the impossible. The Void Dancer moved, not flew, not warped. It bent around space like a ribbon twined through time. The stars twisted. The ship compressed into nothing. And then they were behind the enemy capital ship. No spool up, no countdown, no nausea. Just reality snapping back like a spring. Kira gaped at the viewport. How? Jax felt the answer: intuition wrapped in machine logic. The ship had accepted his instinct, matched it to Kira's discipline. The result: quantum brilliance masquerading as recklessness. They're rotating to reacquire us, Kira warned. Jax nodded. Let's show them what a Warden can do. The Void Dancer's core beam engaged. It wasn't a laser. It wasn't even visible. It was absence. A lance of null gravity tore into the capital ship's primary weapon. The destabilizer shuddered, its temporal coils buckling inward, collapsing time around it like a paper lantern devouring its own flame. There was no explosion, just deletion. The ship didn't blow apart, it ceased to occupy that patch of space. Jax exhaled slowly. That's gonna give someone's sensors a headache. Kira was already watching the scanners. Their escorts are retreating. They think we're cursed. They think we're gods. Jax turned to her, voice quiet. You still don't believe in the bond. She looked at him, really looked. I didn't, she admitted. Not until just now. He smiled faintly. Guess it's good we made the leap. But the moment didn't last. A sensor flare. A new ship emerging from a hidden fold. Smaller, sleeker. Not a warship, more like a message wrapped in steel. A hologram sparked to life. The figure was lean, regal, golden-eyed, and utterly still. His presence hit the bridge like cold iron dropped on glass. Kira froze. Vor, she whispered. Jax felt it in the link: fear, guilt, rage, all wrapped around one name. Caravan, the man said. You've returned. Jax's mouth went dry. Friend of yours. Kira's jaw tightened. Former commander. More. Vor's smile was slow and cutting. And this must be your chosen, how quaint. Jack stepped forward. We just vaporized your flagship. I'd keep the condescension light. Vor didn't blink. You think this game is won? Kira, have you told him what happens when the bond is incomplete? Kira didn't speak. Vor continued. The ship doesn't just reject the pilot, it consumes him. Jax froze. The Void Dancer confirmed it, neural destabilization detected. Estimated failure, 12 hours. His stomach twisted. He turned to Kira, voice cold. You knew she couldn't meet his eyes? Vor chuckled. So fragile human trust. The hologram flickered out, and Jack stood in the silence, betrayed not by the ship, but by the one person he trusted to guide him through it. Jack stood very still, as if the betrayal might sting less if he didn't move. The cockpit lights hummed low. The Void Dancer, silent now, waited. Tell me one thing, he said, voice barely louder than the ship's internal hum. Were you planning to let me die and take the ship? Kira didn't flinch. But she also didn't speak. That's a yes, he said, breath tight. Kira's voice was quiet, almost tired. It wasn't personal. Great, Jack snapped. Love being murdered professionally? She looked up finally, golden eyes flashing, not with anger, but something worse, regret. I thought you'd be incompatible. The ship would reject you before bonding completed. I never expected it to choose you. Not fully. He laughed, humorless. Well, it did. So now what? I got 12 hours until this thing melts my brain, unless we finish the bond, Kira said. He folded his arms. And trust you again. Not exactly my strong suit at the moment. She didn't try to argue. Instead, she walked away, pressing her palm to the core console. The ship responded with a diagnostic hum. Systems realigned. Lights brightened slightly. Vor's fleet is en route, she said. We're outnumbered and outgunned. You'll need full access to survive. Jack stared at her for a long time. Finally, he nodded. We'll fix the bond. But when this is over, we talk. Kira gave a short nod. Agreed. Outside, the sensors lit up 12 enemy ships, full war formation. Vor wasn't bluffing. He wanted the Void Dancer, and he was sending his best. I'll pilot, Jack said. Just try not to stab me in the back while I'm busy. Kira took the weapon station. Don't tempt me. The Void Dancer surged forward. Jax felt every movement as if it were his own muscles, tightening each turn like pivoting on a heel. The enemy opened fire. Jax anticipated the volley before it left their guns. His instincts fused with the ship's predictive matrix. They dove low, phasing sideways into a ripple of warped light. Plasma blasts tore through where they'd been, not where they were. Flank left, Kira said. Already on it, Jax muttered. They spun around the nearest destroyer, weapons locking. Kira launched twin gravitic charges. The destroyer buckled inward like a tin can in a vise. One down, she said. Jax snorted. 11 to go. Piece of cake. The enemy tightened formation, learning, adapting. They boxed the Void Dancer in a hex grid. Kira narrowed her eyes. They're hurting us? Jax checked systems. Any tricks left? She typed rapidly. Stealth matrix. He raised an eyebrow. You mean cloaking? She shook her head. Not invisibility? Confusion? The ship shimmered and split again. 6 ghost ships. No emissions, no heat, no signatures. The enemy opened fire, confused. Only one dancer was real. Jax looped through the chaos, plasma bolts and gravitic lashes dancing around them. They fired from below, 2 more ships down. Vor's voice returned over comms. You're talented pilot. Shame about your expiration date, Jax growled. If I survive, I'm punching that guy in the throat. Better hurry, Kira muttered. He's charging a disruptor. The flagship powered up a massive cannon designed to destabilize phase space. If it hit, no illusions, no cloaks. Just target practice. Can we shoot first? Jax asked. Not without risking core overload. He sighed. So, gamble, Kira smirked faintly. We're good at that. They launched the gravimetric lance again. The weapon glowed. Space folded. The disruptor imploded before firing. 5 enemy ships spiraled in retreat. Jax slumped in his seat. I'm too pretty to die. But the flagship still came. And so did the countdown in his head. The Void Dancer hummed a low pulsing resonance that echoed in Jax's bones. Kira stared at the console, silent. Tell me there's still time, Jax whispered. She didn't answer immediately. Then neural degradation is accelerating. 10 hours, maybe less. Jax closed his eyes. He wasn't afraid of pain, but the idea of slowly being erased, of forgetting how to fly, how to be, terrified him. Kira stood suddenly, moving to the ship's core. She pressed both palms to the living metal. I can finish the bond, she said, voice flat. Yeah, Jax said, watching her. But you don't want to. Kira didn't deny it. He walked up beside her, slower now. Why? She stared at the core, the glowing pulse reflecting in her golden eyes. Because if I bond with you fully, I have to let go of the last one. The first pilot, the one I was meant to share this ship with, the one I loved. There it was. Jax nodded slowly. Well, can't compete with a ghost, huh? Kira finally turned to him. Her face wasn't cold, it was broken. You were supposed to be a key, not a person. He laughed bitter. I get that a lot. Silence. Then softly she said, but now, I'm not sure what you are to me. Jax met her gaze. I'm not trying to replace him. I'm just trying to survive. Maybe save both our asses in the process. Kira exhaled sharply. You're impossible. He grinned. You're not the first person to say that. Another alarm blared. Vor's flagship had a line for a direct collision course. He's going to ram us, Kira said, scanning. Jax blinked. That's stupidly bold. Or desperate. They exchanged a look. 1 part fear, 2 parts challenge. Jax turned to the core. Then we don't wait. He reached out, placed his hand beside hers. The void dancer pulsed hard, like a heartbeat sinking to theirs. Energy crawled along their skin, their nerves. The bridge blurred and they were elsewhere again, a sea of starlight and thought. Jax felt her pain, her loneliness, the guilt over her fallen partner. And she saw him, the jokes masking fear, the drifting without purpose, the ache to matter. They met in that in-between. 2 lost souls sharing the same void. The ship responded. Neural synchronization at 100%. Full combat access unlocked. The cockpit snapped back into view. Jax gasped. Kira steadied him. Then boom. Vor's ship opened fire. Not a cannon. Everything. Every gun, every torpedo, a storm of annihilation. Jax didn't flinch. The void dancer bent space around them, shimmered through the barrage. No thoughts needed. Just movement. They were the ship. They dodged past hull-breaking blasts through shock waves that should have cracked their bones. Jax whispered, let's finish this. Kira nodded. They phased inside Vor's firing arc again and unleashed the gravimetric core. Not a beam, not destruction, just collapse. Vor's ship buckled inward, folding into itself. Lights vanished. Metal screamed. The bridge exploded just long enough for Jax to see Vor staring back at them. Then nothing. Just drifting silence. Jax leaned back. Holy hell. We did it. The void dancer settled. The stars calmed. Kira didn't speak. She was just looking at him now. Not as a pilot, not as a placeholder, as him. Jax raised an eyebrow. So, still bonded? Kira's mouth curled. By Zethi law, yes. He smirked. Do I have to start doing the dishes? No, she said, stepping closer. But if you damage the ship's gravity engine again, I will stab you. Fair enough. The aftermath didn't feel like a victory. The battlefield was empty now. Silent ships drifting like broken promises. No alarms. No more blood-boiling stress. Just quiet. Jax exhaled slowly, watching the stars shift around them as the void dancer coasted. No longer chased, no longer angry. Kira leaned against the console beside him. Her armor was scorched, her silver hair matted with sweat and battle grit. But her eyes, those impossible, radiant gold eyes, remained steady. Where do we go now? Jax asked. Kira stared ahead, unreadable. Anywhere, everywhere. We are free. But Jax didn't feel free. Not really. He kept thinking about what Vor said, the bonding, the ship's secrets, what else might be buried in its bones. He was alive, sure. Bonded. A living fusion of metal memory and human nerve. But something still itched beneath the skin. A knowing he couldn't unknow. Did you feel it? He asked softly. Kira turned to him. The pressure? No, he said. The ship's hesitation. just before the final shot. She tilted her head. Jax looked at the console, now dimmed quiet like a sleeping beast. It didn't want to fire, like it recognized Vor, or remembered something. Kira frowned, visibly disturbed. The dancer doesn't forget. If it hesitated, it's because there's more. Yeah, Jax whispered. I think there is. They drifted a while longer. Time felt weird now. Time in a sentient warship with a mind link to an alien woman who still wasn't sure if she hated you or loved you. Let's just say clocks felt optional. Jax eventually stood. I need space. Kira didn't stop him. There's an escape pod in Bay 2. He stared at her, a little surprised. You're letting me go. She shrugged, but her voice dipped. The bond won't break, but you don't have to stay. He didn't say goodbye. He just walked out. 10 minutes later, the pod detached, a single drop of life in the vacuum. Inside, Jax leaned back, watching the dancer vanish into the dark. You don't choose the ship, he murmured. It chooses you. Then out of nowhere, it came back. The void dancer reappeared, hovering beside the pod like a watchful god. He blinked. You've got to be kidding. The voice came through the pod's console, crisp, amused. Destination override complete. Recalling bonded pilot. Kira's voice followed softer. I thought I could let you go. I was wrong. Jax exhaled, half smiling. Guess I'm not done yet. The pod retracted. The hatch opened. The dancer welcomed him back, not as a passenger, but as chosen. They didn't speak much for a while after that. Instead, they flew, past the shattered moons of Irion, through the ion storms near the dead verge. They didn't speak of trust or betrayal or what might have been. They didn't need to. Every twitch of a muscle, every shared breath in the ship's oxygen-rich silence, those were words enough. And eventually they arrived. Not at a destination exactly, but at something older, deeper, buried within the ship's core, a memory gate, a lock sealed by dual-pilot DNA. One final protocol that had never been triggered. Together, Jax and Kira opened it. What they found wasn't a weapon, it was a message. Not to destroy, but to warn. The Void Dancer wasn't guarding a superweapon. It was guarding the knowledge of what the Zathi once unleashed, something that almost unmade the stars themselves. A warning encoded in emotion, in shared trauma, in living memory. A quiet voice in the dark saying, "Don't make our mistake." Jax leaned against the console as the message faded, heart heavy. Kira stood beside him, still and thoughtful. Well, he said softly, guess we're not just flying anymore. She nodded. No, we're carrying a truth. Think anyone will believe us? She smiled faintly. They'll believe the dancer. And so with nothing but a living ship and a bond forged through war loss and stubborn human heart, they drifted back toward the known galaxy. Not as fugitives, but as keepers of the fire.